Jeannie Watson, it's been my privilege to know Jeannie for more than 30 years, to know her both as a friend and as a poet and as a truly dedicated poet, someone really who has given her life so far to the practice of poetry and to thinking about and understanding and appreciating other people's poetry. So this is a special occasion for me. Jeannie Watson is the author of Journey of Lost Things, from Finishing Line Press, and also from Finishing Line Press, a novel, Current Wisdom, and a novella, Argument for Mercy. I'm sorry, and A Lake in Heaven, and Argument for Mercy is her chapbook, which is also very well worth reading. I don't think I really need to say anything more. Jeannie.
I know the gallery has been thanked and thanked and thanked, but it can never be thanked enough, because to read among the outpouring of other artists is, I think, a real privilege. I think there's something that goes on that comes out of us and goes through these things and comes back into us, and I don't know, it's a very special thing. But mostly I want to thank everyone who came tonight, because first of all, getting to Redwood City is not an easy thing. One must plan, and I know there are dogs and cats and TVs and remote controls and music and comfy couches, and you left them to come and hear poetry. And so I never think of a poetry reading as something I'm doing. I always think of it as something we're doing, because what I feel and think is filtered through what you feel and think. And somehow that makes us a community. And that makes me feel what I've always felt so strongly. It makes me feel less alone. I think sometimes artists have a lot of trouble with loneliness, because when you say something to a lot of people, they say, I think I'm going to refresh my drink. This is a poem everyone knows, but I often start my reading with it, so. Apples and oranges. A woman says, I need apples. A man says, I have oranges. How about oranges? A woman says, I will take oranges, but what I really want are apples. A man said, when you have had enough oranges, you'll forget all about apples. A woman says, I may eat 1,000 oranges, but I will always want apples. A man says, here, take this orange. It's good for you. A woman says, thank you. But she falls asleep, moaning, apples, apples, apples. So I usually have these in order, but it's quite a day. The body was made for work. The femur, the ball and joint are tools with which to lift and twist pieces of the physical world, the whole of which at times rests on one's shoulders, throwing itself upwards, a body pushed into air, running miles on its miracle feet. Through its work, the body becomes itself, lengthens the muscle down its fattened bones, makes small the heart, capacious its vessels, releases the body's own opiates that pop like champagne in the brain. Work is what it loves, and without which it will die before its time. The body can take us so far, but not empty-handed. And so we pray over the laundry basket and the sweeper we carry up the stairs. We pray over our running shoes and the hoe scooping the earth. For each act of work is a small sacrament. The articulation of shoulder, the squatting of thighs are the body's moments of perfection, its godlike acts. A mind. Well, I think I have to do a backstory a little bit for this. I suffer from clinical depression, and there's really no fixing it. There is only remission, times, periods of remission. So that might help to understand the inferences in the poem. A mind. A mind is a made-up thing, a soup, a recipe. A mind is a terrible thing to be wasted, to be placed on a shelf, to be gathering eyes in the basement, to be kept above the ordinary, to be dragged unwilling like a shadow of magnificent darkness, and lay it on the table. Demonstrate its tricks, its suits, its house of cards. Pick it up, stack it, glue it. Do what needs to be done. A mind isn't helpless, is it? Could a mind be helpless? And how in love with dark it is, and how insatiable for terror, and how little sleep it can run on. Tick-tock, tickety-tockety, ticky-tocky. It hasn't any idea of time, or that there is no time. It has no respect for danger, dangerous time, leaking through its gnarled fissures like water through cracks. It's a sugar freak. In a swill of glucose, it performs its electrical magic, if it will, or it shocks or short circuits, or when the switch is snapped. Doesn't move at all. Possum on the fence, staring and defiant, furry and stupid. Get that sucker to jump, will you? Will somebody get it to jump, for Christ's sakes? It's a wallowing corpse in the backyard. It's taking up space. It's a wallowing corpse in the backyard. It's taking up space. Somebody take it to the doc for an injection. Somebody get it to come alive. She could, but she won't. It's better to have everyone watch. She's quite used to it. Can't see that mushy little orb up for any sort of change. Doesn't she choose her comfort? You know she likes it. A mind can be at war with its own body. Perform a jiu-jitsu flip from which neither recover. No matter injection, pills, which keep it from turning on itself, keep it content to its pathetic joys, the devouring of possibilities, blinding the eyes, making the feet quit their dancing. This can be its full-time job, a career of squander. Don't you wonder when a body commences to vibrate, or when the heart up and gives out like an old rubber hose? Don't you wonder about God's choices, about this making to come apart? a mind which can be a river of light, can be a black lake of ice. But you can change it, can't you? You can set it to rights, to rest like grass beneath a safe animal, perk like morning coffee. You can make it do that again, can't you? Phil, for the fallen Philip Seymour Hoffman, who left us bereft and alone, February 2nd, 2014. Reptilian or seraphic, your eyes sparked and I got you, blue. You knew all the time you were stealing. In each instance, I went home with an emptied heart, ticket stubs like ash in my pockets. You were the one I had to grip both of the armrests for. And because of you, the incomprehensible became a yes so deep I was afraid to look again. Yes, yes, yes to the wretchedness we keep from each other. Yes to the precision of fingers combing through something just above your eye. It could have been so easy, a scorched earth affair, but you were a miner and in so deep, we refused to follow. But you chucked up diamonds, demonstrating what the anthracite could hold. Everything I've looked away from, you held me by the hair to see, and I hated you, and I was grateful. I would have kissed each bare patch of your whitened body. And I want to thank you for being here longer, much longer than you could bear. And I want to thank God for my eyes and ears and for being in the right place and time to receive you. And I ask for nothing but a long lake of peace for you and those you loved. Zion, a letter from Netanyahu. It's hard to make a home in some other's house. They imagine privileges where there can be none. They insist on thinking they can wander from their rooms into ours, which are, of course, the main part of the house. They claim use of our markets because they've used them for thousands of years. Why is it so difficult for people to accept that everything changes? Can they not see that we are what remains of a genocide? The ungentle ones, as Viktor Frankl remarked. Can they not understand that this land is our sacred trust, provided by a God who preferred us above all others? We had nowhere to go but home. Can they not see that they were but squatters, waiting for the true owners to return? From the beginning, they lived under a false notion. We are peacemaking men. Why should we not be, knowing so intimately what annihilation must bring? We make rules so that peace may ensue. We build up walls so that our positions are clear. It is some inconvenience, of course, but peace always exacts a pound of flesh, which we are more than willing to pay. We grant them generous strips of our land, only occasionally nesting there, as Yahweh so commanded. Why then should such violence erupt in their hearts? And how do they imagine they could unseat us or ask us any favor when we are already strained with our generosity? Again I say, we are peaceful men, but as it is written, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The Messiah has not come, offering a new command. We live by our Father's word, and the consequences are in his name, who is nameless. Let's two more. This is a poem about Marilyn Monroe. Well, of course, when many of us grew up, she was the woman, the one, the only one. And being stringy and skinny and weak of hair, to me, she was like a giant light. A quartet of views for Marilyn. 1, we love you. We love you for everything you make us think we can do. We love you because we believe you will ooze about our bodies, that you will suck the sex from us and leave us to lie on clouds above the fires and stones. We love you because you will stay young forever and keep us up on our game. Because your mouth is a wormy vortex into which we slip and tire, and your bottom soft melons, and your breasts, oh, bury us. 2, her. That I am a haunted house, that I am a spoiled river, that I am a well full of pennies, that I am a beach for foundered things, that I am fooled to death with dissatisfaction, that my soul retches, that time is my enemy, that I am nothing but pictures, that I am barren, that neither pill nor drink can make me forget, that my wantonness is a way I say, help. 3, afterward. In the end, you were in bed, where we had dreamed you would be. But instead of burning, you were cold and growing hard. Your heart, that untouched being, still innocent of love as an unborn child. Alone as shoes in the cellar, alone as the motherless, as the last moments of life, unknown as a foreign country we had sailed around for years. 4, the note. All the reaching hands, all the greedy fingers, all the breaths on my neck, all the everything promised. The children who died, the turmoil outside, the engine in my head, the wine just beneath my breastbone, my flesh on its quiet rot, my face on buildings, my body everywhere. And yet what? What? This cavern, my beginning already ending, my ending what I have perhaps done best. Thank you. I think I'll refresh my drink. If my great-grandmother Anna, 17, hadn't boarded the ship alone, if she hadn't taken the laudanum, if my father's dad hadn't fallen from the scaffolding, if he hadn't had to live with his paternal grandparents who hadn't wanted him, if my mother's mother had loved her, if her father had not been felled with tuberculosis of the spine, if my grandmother Violet had not married Mr. Emery, if my father had stayed in Springfield, and if my mother had wanted a career. If her best friend hadn't dated my father's best friend. If they'd, neither of them, liked to dance and drink. If he hadn't waltzed her out the door of the club and under the stars. If only she hadn't been his green-eyed jewel. If only he hadn't become a sort of Catholic. If only my father hadn't been afraid. If only my mother had spat at religion. If only my father's business had not limped along. If only my mother had left us and gone for work. If only the Mass and Rosary had cured everything. I would not be standing here among you, writing my way out, seeing your eyes pulling me through.
Well, thank you, Jeannie. Powerful, unforgettable.